Well, hello and welcome to a special Edufuturist podcast. It's going to be a shorter one, this one. It's not part of our normal planning. We just thought it was important. We've been shared some stuff. I know Steve will talk about where this has come from, of something that we think the education community in the UK need to know about. And it's something that feels like it's gone under the radar. It's not something that we've been able to, that we've seen a lot of. We'd heard that there were some education reforms coming through Parliament, but some of the implications of what that means. So Steve and I are here today to basically tell you a little bit about some challenges that are going to be brought in the UK around a new bill that's going through Parliament currently. It's at the stage that it's at is that it's gone through the committee stage in February, and it's currently awaiting that report stage and third reading, if anybody understands UK legal situation. But basically, we want to highlight some of the things that are in the Children's Wellbeing in Schools Bill, particularly about how you, as part of the Edufuturist community in the UK, can do something significant, which is about writing to your MP and making some noise about some of the things that we think are going to have a profound effect on learners, but maybe not everything everybody knows about. Steve, do you want to maybe just tell people where how you kind of heard about this, and then we can have a little bit of a conversation about what that implications are?
Absolutely. I think it sits with the book and a lot of things that we've been saying, that pick and mix education, the ability for choice, and we'll delve into the fact that we are we think some things need guardrails, but at the same point, actually, just removing choice and putting it into a centralised model, actually, we don't think is the way forward. Local authorities and lots of different organisations are not doing a great job because of lack of funding. So for them to then be making extra decisions doesn't seem like a sensible way and a sensible step forward. This information was shared by one of the communities, a good friend of mine and Ben's and the podcast, Nachelle Crowther. She basically just flagged it up and said, have you seen this? Might be worth a conversation. And quickly we jumped on it. I think the reason why we're doing it in with speed is because it's open to discussion and open to opinion, and to basically give a review of it and get involved. And Ben, like I said, we'll put it in the show notes to do so. And if we didn't want to miss this opportunity to make sure that for SEND and some of those bits, if you are a parent or you care about that kind of provision and the pick and mix option, this bill has a real implication and challenge to that. So appreciate, Nachelle, just to call it out, we didn't do the research and find this was passed to us, and we've done the research now around it. So thanks, Nachelle, and we love the fact that our community and our friends keep sharing things to discuss on the podcast.
100%, and it's a wolf pack, isn't it? So we're not coming up with ideas. There's loads of people that have been sharing some stuff, and we've just been oblivious to it. And it's great that we're coming up. The Children's Wellbeing Bill, which is going through Children's Wellbeing in Schools Bill, to give it its proper title, is going through Parliament currently, and there's some incredibly things that we agree with. Okay, so I'm just going to highlight some of these. We're not calling everything out. We know that it's really important that some of the safeguarding measures that are in there, really important. We know that safeguarding is significant as parents, as teachers, as education leaders. We're not saying let's remove all these safeguarding barriers. We're thinking that it's just going a little bit too far. Some of the things that talk about safeguarding of children who are not on school registers, we understand that there's a lot of people. My wife actually worked as an attendance officer for a long time, and there's a lot of students who are off-road or that aren't necessarily catered for, or they've decided they've not been in education for a long time, and then the local authorities, they get lost, and there's all sorts of stuff for vulnerability and care leavers and all the other bits that go with that. So having registers and knowing where children are as part of safeguarding, we know that part of the bill is really important. We know that there's loads of conversations about breakfast clubs, and every state-funded primary school in England must provide breakfast clubs before schools begin. We could not be bigger champions of that, because we know that there's lots of young people, and this is not just, that's not their fault. It's not always parents' fault, society. There's lots of things that happen. The fact that we can provide breakfast clubs and that schools are doing that, and there's funding that's going to be available for that, we will champion that, because we believe in equity, and we believe that we should do the very best for those people who need it the most. We also, tied to that is the school uniform bit, and I'm mentioning this bit because it's important, that the bill talks about the limit of branded items that state-funded schools are going to require as part of their uniform. And there's got to be a limit on that. Again, about equity, about poverty, about supporting young people, about supporting families. This is important. And I'm not gonna lie as well. The requirement, which blows my mind that this is a case, and many of you will be aware of this, but I didn't click that this was the case, is that the requirement from September 2026, if this bill becomes law, will be that new teachers in state primary and secondary schools will need qualified teacher status or be working towards it. It sounds pretty obvious, right? That teachers should probably be qualified to be teaching in state-funded schools. That isn't necessarily the case, and so that slipped through the bill. But this slipped through the crack, sorry, and this bill is addressing that. So we want to be really clear. We're not calling everything out and saying it's not right, but we want. So there are some really cool key bits that are coming through it.
And what's really interesting is actually the wider complexities and the impact that potentially has the QTS and all of those elements actually on FE, as an example. The great work that Further Education does in regards to industry teaching and experts coming in, the development of post-career individuals going and applying their contacts and going back and going into teaching. We're not saying that they don't need a teaching qualification, but for some of these opportunities, what does that look like? When will that will it impact the whole, or are they judging all education in that narrow mind, including FE, into just schools, primary and secondary? So it is a thing to call out and really, really reflect on what implications wider than just the normal schooling of 5 to 16-year-old.
Yeah, absolutely. And this schools bill only doesn't cover the FE bit, but there is a longer application that comes into that for sure.
Absolutely.
Now, the bit that was drawn to our attention is particularly around the what might happen if a parent decides to withdraw their young person from mainstream education. And so the conversation about homeschooling and home education, we don't homeschool our children, but we know there is a growing community of homeschoolers globally. And the fact that we live in a country that allows parents to have choice around this is something that we feel we protect, that should be protected. And interestingly, you hear these phrases that people say, I may not agree with your opinion, but I will defend to the death your right to believe differently. And that's where we're sat here, is that you don't have to do exactly the same, but the fact that some people who are home educators now, again, some bits just to throw out here, and I know Steve will throw his thoughts into it, but the bit that's really important here is to understand we absolutely know that every young person who is not in education, employment and training, as a government, as a society, we have a responsibility to safeguard all of them, and particularly those that are on like school attendance orders, or people that are young people that are in care, or that have had some safeguarding measures around that. Basically, what we're saying is we know that those things are important to protect them. But some of the things that come out, and this is just to acknowledge that the bill is going to put a single unique identifier across children. So that means there'll be data sharing across services, which again will make things easier. But what does that mean in terms of privacy, rights, and some of the bits that are going to come with that? And the other bit is that home education for learners is important because that choice piece, but parents no longer have an automatic right to do that. So if their child, if the local authority decide that child shouldn't be allowed, or that parent shouldn't have the automatic right to home educate, that has been taken away from, or would be, if this bill is passed, would be taken away from that. And that is really challenging, because you've got to get local authority consent to homeschool. And also you're going to have to, tied to that is that local authorities will have the ability, and they always have had the ability to do this for homeschooling, but they can go and do a home inspection and a home visit, and then if they believe that isn't right, they can force those children back into school with a school attendance order. That basically means that those children or those parents who have chosen that their children would be better to selectively home educate, and this disproportionately affects those children with identified special educational needs or additional needs. Those children who mainstream school isn't working for them, so their parents have elected to have that. This is going to significantly affect that demographic more than some of the others.
Yeah, I think it's that conversation we've been having in regards to, would we prefer attendance in a one size fits all model school for every single individual, or would we prefer choice and a bit more and the remaining element of autonomy for parents to make a considered, educated, supported choice for those learners that and young people that might be struggling for whatever reason to adopt a context and an environment for learning that is better for them. We don't want to say that those people, they take them out of school and they don't do anything. That's not what we want. Absolutely, impact negatively is significant. We know that. What we're saying is we aren't getting it right. We have seen on the news and lots of different things for SEND and some of those learners really struggling. They might be getting an attendance mark, but are they engaging and then are they flourishing in those settings? I don't think so for many. So how do we do things differently? And the erosion of a parental right and how we remove their choice ultimately is a central body's decision only to do so, I think is a real worry for me, because they're not demonstrating a history of making positive decisions. And actually, I just think it's all about choice and like I say, structured supporter choice, not we are telling. It sounds like we're dictating to people how we should educate, and we discuss on a regular basis on a podcast. We ain't getting it right for so many anyway. So why do we think that we know better than some of these people that are going to do it?
Yeah, and tied to that is the fact that there's a whole host of MPs that do disagree with this, but it's gone through a number of stages of becoming law. So even though some like Lloyd Hacking, Lloyd Crisp, Lloyd Frost have all said they've got some opposition towards this, and we're going to share some on our socials, some of the things that are being talked about. And Nachelle shared this with us, and then since that, we've been looking at people like Hannah Han on Instagram, as well as I know that Simon Squibb, who many people will be following, has called this out alongside a whole host of Facebook groups that are doing this as well. So there's lots and lots and lots of people that are sharing this and are doing some bits. So what we are asking people to do is, first of all, do the due diligence, do a little bit of a read of this, have a look at the implications. Does this affect you? Could this potentially be a slippery slope? Ask those questions. We're not telling you what to do. We're not saying that you should do this, because we argue for critical thinking, and we think it's really important that people should make their own decisions. So we're going to do some critical thinking tied to it. So think about it, look at what's out there, educate yourself, because it's gone quiet and nobody's talking about it. There's 146 pages in that members bill, and there's some bits that have been snuck in that might have an effect. That's the first thing. The second thing that we're going to suggest to you is that if you do feel like this needs to be addressed, we want you to sign the change petition that's in the show notes. So if you want to do, there is a petition. There's well over 150,000 people that have signed that it needs to be changed. So do that. And the third thing is, in the show notes, we're going to give you a template. Now it'll be a template that and you don't have to use this, but it's there if anybody wants to do it. Me and Steve are doing it, which is to send a letter to your MP, an email letter to your local MP, with stating that you believe that they need to raise this and they need to vote against it and why they shouldn't, or things that you can bring together to them. So there's a whole host of people that are doing this. We're going to offer one option as well, and if we do get a chance to tie into the stuff that Hannah Han has been able to work on, then we will pick it up. But we have reached out to them. We haven't yet had any response into that space. So I want to just be really clear. This is not us. This is not us getting on a soapbox. It's not because we're writing a box about pick and mix, which is about parental choice, that we feel like, well, hold on a minute, what's this going to... We're saying, how can we be talking about pick and mix? How can we be talking about these wonderful things that education can do and supporting people when there's these little elements, and if we don't do something about this, we're missing it. So there's three things you can do, and we'd love you to get involved if you can. All the links are in the show notes, and we're going to share that as well.
I won't say too much more. The dog is absolutely going mad because there's something at my doorbell. So apologies for the barking in the end. Ben said enough. It's about choice. If you disagree, if you agree, whatever your thoughts are, we'd love you to engage on social media, in our community, join the WhatsApp and everything else. And positive conflict in regards to disagreements and other different opinions is a positive space to be in. We just need to face that, and we'd love to hear it.
Absolutely. So the strength of the pack is the wolf, and the strength of the wolf is a pack. So we're in this pack together. Wherever you sit, let's work together through this as a community. See you next time.